and asked what is wrong with the Celtics. Last night we got the answer. Nothing that a cross-country flight can't fix. The C's hit Oakland and took an 11-0 lead before some fans had even reached their seats, and Boston never looked back, winning every quarter, recording a season-high 38 assists on their 49 makes. Gordon Hayward had 30 points more than his previous 5 games combined, and the Celtics looked like a team that actually enjoyed playing together for once. It was a complete 180-degree flip from the previous 1-5 stretch, but it's also just a single game. We'll find out more about the Celtics when they take on the Kings in Sacramento tonight, the second part of their back-to-back, and without Kyrie Irving. But was last night enough to convince you that Boston has turned some sort of a corner?
It was enough to convince me that what we thought was there, it really is there. Mm-hmm. Now, can they sustain that? Can they keep that type of feel-good attitude about themselves and play that well and sustain that? That's a question that's yet to be, answered. But what we all thought was there, I think they found out that it's still there, right, and we found out that it's still there. And most importantly, Golden State said, oh, it's still there. They're good.
Well, something to think about for later on, perhaps. It was just last week, Brad Stevens was saying basically, I know who we've been. I know who we can be. I don't know who we are right now. Well, maybe they're the team they can be again. Again, just one game.
Yeah, just one game, but maybe the Warriors had more faith in who the Celtics could be going into that game than even the Celtics. I mean, I was listening to what Kevin Durant and Steve Kerr were saying about the Celtics before the game, and they held them in much higher regard than you would a team that struggled the way the Celtics have recently. But it's because of the talent. I mean, the quality of depth on that Boston roster is undeniable. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Whether or not you're playing well enough to take advantage of that at any stretch during the season is up to those guys in uniform. And I think last night they showed us that whatever card game was played on that flight or whatever talk somebody had with the rest of the group on that plane, they needed that time away from everything else, isolated, to really get themselves together. And they look fantastic. They are, in that game, they look like the team we thought they were in training camp.
It's really interesting that several people have referenced this cross-country flight, which is more than 6 hours from Boston to get to the Bay Area. What is the value of that kind of time together for a team in the course of an NBA season where guys are jumping around? You got practice, you got games, you got flights, you've got media responsibilities, and then you're actually together alone in a relatively confined space for a long period of time.
Well, Adam Silver referenced something where he actually used the quote that I said where, I said, championships are won on a bus. And he talked about the Michael Jordan years of the film when you can see the camaraderie on the bus. And when you have 4 to 5 hours on a plane flight, and you're isolated and you're in a contained, in a controlled environment, and there's nowhere to go, now you can have deep, heartfelt, meaningful conversations. And if you can get the players to take off the headphones, to stop, tweeting or whatever it is that they're doing, and really start communicating and start having human interactions, you'll start realizing that, okay, we do like each other. And I do remember the things that we had in common. And I can trust you, and not what somebody had wrote about you or wrote about me, right, got me all messed up in the head. So those 4 or 5 hours, when you get off that plane, now you've bonded, you've reconnected, but the most important thing that has happened is you've really started communicating with each other again and trusting each other once again. And that's what a lot of teams are missing in the NBA today, because with charter flights, no practicing, you eat maybe one meal together, but you really don't eat together. There's really no communication. There's no time to talk. There's no time to really get to know each other. And, it's like, I would say for the Celtics, it's like analytics met the human being. and we found out that the human being, in terms of emotion, feelings, communications, is more important than the actual numbers that we're trying to, compare them with.
That's interesting because I can't tell you how many times after a very long flight I've wanted to get as far away as possible from the person sitting next to me over that time.
Don't you write better? Don't you think better? Don't you? I mean, that control. Even when you drive in your car, right? It's like you can finally control your environment,
right?
And you can write, think, and work better.
Right.
And when you have that with a team,
you have to think. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you have that with a team and with a group, where we can all write, talk, communicate. Don't play cards, don't drink,
right,
but really just start talking. And I think they worked everything out.
Hey, Gordon Hayward was terrific last night, 30 points. That's 4 more than his previous 5 games combined. He was really in a slump dealing with an ankle injury for some of that time. He's had 30-point games before already this season. What will tell you, what kind of a stretch does it have to be? Does it have to be a play, a string of games that he's closer to what they signed up for?
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be repeat performances, not necessarily the point total.
Sure.
But just the comfort level he had out there last night. I thought the way he got into the lane and got to his spots was telling. Mm-hmm. That when he gets in a comfort zone on the floor and finds his sweet spots, then he looks much more comfortable, much more like the Gordon Hayward that I'm sure they hoped he'd be. But I think Isaiah brings up a very important point about that isolation you have on the road as opposed to when you're at home. Everybody's in their own silo when you got home games. So everybody goes, you leave that building and everybody goes with their own group of people and you get the feedback and, you get the chance to decompress with everybody's going to tell you what you want to hear. When you're on the road, it's you and the other guys in that locker room.
Yeah.
So it allows you some back and forth with the guys who you really need to be dependent on, who you need to be worried about. What's the feedback for the guy next to me in this locker room in terms of how we're going to attack this? And let's not forget, the Warriors are the great motivator for other great teams. They show up to Oracle, and they know they want to swing and knock the champ out. And I thought Boston came in focused. You could tell they were loose, focused, all the right things you need to be to go into a big-time statement game, and they showed up. I'm more concerned now about the Warriors maybe than I was about the Celtics going into last night.